Good morning. Today it's all about the Reformations through the years 1600 to 1800, which is also known as the post-Reformation. A lot of this was when America was being colonized, mostly out towards the west. So let's get this started. Church construction basically stopped during this time period. Many paintings and sculptures and ornamental churches were destroyed. By the 17th century, almost all of these things found in churches were destroyed, and people realized at this time that they needed to rebuild. The Roman Catholic Church sought to build houses of worship that would strike awe into the hearts of their worshipers, so they tried to go big and they tried to go grand. Lorenzo Bernini was a huge leader and architect of the time. He designed a very large chunk of St. Peter's Basilica. So he was commissioned a lot to do big church-looking buildings and stuff like that. The best-known style used in England at the time was the Baroque style of building. Christopher Wren was the primary architect of that style. He built St. Paul's Cathedral, and that was completed in 1710. St. Paul's Cathedral was actually the first English cathedral built in 150 years. As for the services at this time, time became a different notion for people in these days. Most people no longer went to Mass daily because they couldn't afford to do it because they had jobs and had to do other things. So most tried to attend weekly, but that was weekly at best. Lots of people didn't even do that. Priests, nuns, and monks were the only ones really that were able to continue to do the daily mass and meetings. They did their daily practices still because it was what they did with their life. The Roman Catholic Mass at this time, it was a Eucharistic service at that time, just like it is today. So, with the issue of communion, the Catholics back then, most only communed once a year, and that was on Easter, because just for them to be able to be worthy of receiving the sacrament of bread, they had to go to confession. And a lot of people didn't have time for that or didn't want to go through with the hardships of confession. New England Puritans, on the other hand, practiced communion once a month, or at least tried to. As people spread west, it was harder and harder to get a minister to come into the church because of how far people were. So they found it difficult to maintain once they went out. And at this time, opera had really gotten into the church style, so it added a dramatic flavor to church music. Calvinists did not like it, and they still didn't really allow congregational singing, but the organ was gaining popularity with all groups, including the Calvinists. Bach was a very large part of the music that was being composed at this time because of how he did things. The orders of worship, we have several instances where we've been given the actual liturgy, and it's lots of prayers, lots of they would try and include an Old Testament chapter and a New Testament chapter, and a psalm, the Lord's Prayer, general prayer, another psalm, blessing and exhortation. So it was very, very structured and very, very put together. The preaching at this time, sermons began with like the reading and exposition of a biblical text and moved on to an application in life. The exposition often focused on a single word or two, the meaning of which shed light on the whole passage. And really, those are the main parts of this chapter. Alrighty then.